Okay, welcome. Today I wanted to offer some reflections about being married to a boarding school survivor and what to do if they're not prepared to do the work. And yeah, that goes for both ways, whether you are an ex-boarder and your partner won't do the work, or you are married to an ex-boarder and they won't do the work. So just to offer some reflections today. Yeah, so this has come up for me over the last 6 months. Part of the half of the people who reach out to me are people who are married to ex-boarders, and they go, "Hey, what do I do?" And the other half are people who are boarders. Sometimes it's the wives who reach out to me, or the partners, and say, please help my wife or my husband. They've been to boarding school. And what I want to talk about a little bit today is, what can you do? What can you do if you can see that your partner's not doing the work? What can you do? So, about 6 months ago, someone reached out to me and they mentioned that their partner had been to boarding school. They hadn't been themselves, and they were saying, can you get him to work with you? So we met, the three of us, and it was clear that that partner, ex-boarder, did not want to work with me. And she was feeling very frustrated, this partner, and saying, what do I do? What do I do? And what I came back to is what I want to share a bit today, is that I said, you can do your own work. And I think this is really key. Gay Hendricks, KT Hendricks, in their book, Conscious Loving Ever After, talk about this idea that we take 100% responsibility. And it's wonderful if both partners take 100% responsibility in the relationship. You can have a really thriving relationship. But it's quite rare. And what they say is that you begin with you. You take 100% responsibility for what shows up. So what I said to this lady is, and we worked together for a number of months. I said, you work out within yourself why you are triggered. What is it within you? And this kind of takes me into some of the Jungian analysis and what Jung said. He said, when the unconscious is not made conscious, it turns up in our lives and we call it fate. So when we start to work on the triggers, maybe we're married to an ex-boarder and he or she is, controlling or, shut down emotionally, but we have a trigger, then we can take 100% responsibility for what we feel. So it's like, okay, what's that within me? And what I find in my work, unconsciously, is that there is often, and this is not always the case, but often the parent of that partner, who wasn't an ex-boarder, there's been some trauma that the parent has passed on. And often, you're in relationship with an ex-boarder, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Your relationship to your parents, or something happened when you were young, that, when you clear that, your partner who's an ex-boarder, it no longer triggers you. You're no longer bothered. It's like, he's just doing this stuff. So often it's almost like we have a port inside of us that's created as at a young level, kind of what Jung's talking about, the unconscious. And then we meet someone and they fit that port. It's like a ship coming into harbor. And, when we heal that, we remove the maybe it's a belief that I can only attract, I need to really rescue people, or I need to really be supportive to people. But in a negative sense, like more neediness, then I will attract those people. When I heal that, no longer does that thing trigger me. So, what Anthony de Mello talks about is, he says, in relationships, it's a bit like, if you go to a doctor with an ailment, so you've got a back problem, you go to the doctor and you say, I've got this back problem here, and they give you some medicine. And you come home, and instead of you taking the medicine, you give it to a neighbor or maybe a friend. And you say, it doesn't work, I've still got this back pain. And that's what he says about relationships. It's often we have the issue, it's in us, we're triggered, we're frustrated, and rather than taking the medicine, which could be, working out what our inner trigger is, we put it onto someone else. We give it to someone else, say it's them. And again, it's what Jung said. When the unconscious is not made conscious, then it turns up in our lives, and we call it fate. Same principle here. So, why that's amazing is that we then take full responsibility. What happened with this person who I worked with for a number of months is her happiness levels really went up. Her relationship deeply improved. Her children, they made huge shifts, and her relationship to them. She ended up publishing a book. So it's like when she worked out those early things which had happened in her life, her life could change. And I think what's important to see then, when we've worked 100%, it might be at that point we go, actually this relationship's not working. That other person's not doing their work. And that's a potential. But if we've done everything we can, but most people will come to me and they haven't done any work on themselves. They haven't looked at those early childhood things. So I'd say that's really key. When someone else won't do the work, if you've done, a huge amount of work and they're still not doing it, then it's important for them to step up as well. But what you will find was when you do that work, you take 100% responsibility, as in this example, things change tremendously. It's really important to see the sovereignty. Now, I've created this video a few months ago about victim to creator. When we're in victim, we say, it's all me. We have no power. We've given it to other people. When we become creators, we go, hey, if it's in me, I can do something about it. I can move from sadness into joy. I can focus on gratitude. What do I have? I was speaking to someone a couple of days ago, and they said they met with an elderly man. He's 99. He said, it's amazing just how much stuff we have at the moment. He says, when I was growing up in the 20s, he said we had nothing, absolutely nothing. It was an old coal mining community. It's like we weren't sure if they were going to get food that day. And so if you have these things, it's like moving more into a space of gratitude, to love, into joy, compassion, cultivating these qualities. And the another couple of points here are about the fundamentals. So my coach, Brian Johnson, talks about the fundamentals a lot. He says, we might not have power, kind of control over what other people do, but we do have control over what we put in our mouths, how we breathe, what time we go to bed. And it's like an exercising movement. All of these things, when we're really filled up, Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, he says, sleep is not just a building block, it is a foundation. It's the foundation underneath it where everything else sits. We need to sleep. When I've slept really well, my relationship's really good. When I'm not feeling so good, it's still a really good relationship, but I feel I can get triggered. I find I can get triggered more easily. So, noticing that, how can I optimize my sleep? How can I start to, take full responsibility, that 100% responsibility? So moving, eating, clean vegetables, organic vegetables, getting to sleep early. And the final aspect I wanted to just say, this comes more from Stoicism, is this idea that, when we feel challenged, rather than going, oh, into the victim. We go, Stoic gods, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to grow. When it's a challenge, it's like, yes, this gives me something to practice. When your partner's annoying you, or he or she's being really challenging, it's going, yes, this is my chance to really grow, learn, and thank you. Thank you. And, as I've found in my own life, it's through our challenges that we grow. When we're stuck in our comfort zones, it's not how we reach our infinite potential, as the writers of the tools say. It's infinite potential. There's fear there. It's discomfort. So if we can reframe, I'm feeling this, and therefore I can do something about it. So just some ideas and reflections. If you are married to a boarding school survivor and they won't do the work, take it back to you. I can do something. And as I've shared in this example of this lady, things have really shifted. She's taken responsibility. And really, well done. Keep doing this work. And if you have any comments, please do leave them below, or any questions. Anything you're like, oh, what does this mean? How does this show up? I don't understand this. So many blessings, and have a great week, and see you next week. Bye bye.